Rope Break family, it is I, Jean-Paul Leek, and as always, I'm bringing you your AEW Dynamite review on this cold Thursday morning. And before I get into the review, like always, I just want to thank you guys so much, all the new subscribers, all the new people coming over and liking the page on Facebook. We really appreciate all the comments and the interaction. That's really starting to pick up, especially on the Facebook end. We love hearing what you guys have to think of the shows and our reviews and everything we do. We love the fan interaction, so thank you all again for that. So let's get right into the review. So the show opened up with uh, I believe they announced all the matches in advance of the show, but the show opened up with the Young Bucks and Dustin versus the Inner Circle, so Santana and Ortiz and Sammy Guevara. And as we figured this match, you knew it wasn't going to be a match where guys tag in and it's clean, and you knew it was going to break down. You knew it was going to be hectic, but I mean, this was a fun match. So like I said, it breaks down early on. The Bucks, they super kick Santana and Ortiz, and then all three of the faces, they all do a big super kick on Sammy. And then all the heels are on the outside later on, and you got all the faces, they're diving, doing sentons to the outside. And I believe it's Matt Jackson at this time. He does a double Northern Light suplex. He Northern Light suplex Guevara twice, and then he gets Ortiz. He does a double Northern Light suplex, and then Santana comes in and he tries to grab him as well, but they're like, nah, you're not gonna do this, all three of us. So they start beating him down. And then they isolate Matt Jackson for a while. Dustin tags in. He does his signature drop down slap. He hits one of his snap power slams. And then there was a spot, and now it's him and Sammy in the ring. And then there's a spot, he's doing all these moves, and the commentary's putting him over. Oh, he's still got it, and he's still great and all this. And he's like, like taking a breather, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, is this legit? Like, dude, this isn't a house show. Like, like you breaking kayfabe. Like, what's going on? Sammy's just standing there. And it was Dustin. I guess he was just playing up to the crowd. I was a little confused because I was, taking notes, and I'm not like watching constantly because, like I said, I'm taking notes and stuff on my phone. So I missed like the beforehand part of it. But he was just playing up to the crowd and kind of like, tricking Sammy. And again, I'm gonna go into a rant on Sammy at the end of this, like I always do. But it just made Sammy look like an idiot because he just stood there like, what, like, huh? Like, what's he taking a breather for? And then, you know, Dustin, he takes advantage of that, and he hits a crossbody on all three of the heels to the outside. Then Ortiz, he gets that loaded sock. I think, I don't know if he has baseballs or whatever, broken up a piece of brick, whatever he has in there. But he runs around, he clocks everybody with that. Sammy hits a 630 senton on Dustin for a 2 count. That was a really good, like, he hits a beautiful, that 630 is beautiful that Sammy hits. I will give him that. You can't take nothing away from him in the ring. Dustin tags in Nick. Huge dives all over the place. Like, again, like I said, the match, it breaks down. They were making tags, so there was a legal man, but, everybody was involved for most of the match. So they do some kind of knee drop power bomb, I believe it was, onto Nick for a 2 count. That was broken up by Dustin. Then Sammy, he's up on the top rope, and he gets out his phone, and he's like vlogging or doing whatever the hell he's doing. And this is the shit that really irritates me about this guy. So he's up there, he's doing that. I'll get into it after the match. So he's wasting time with that. They knock him down, and then he gets super kicked off the top rope, actually. Or he dives off the top rope. He gets his phone. He's doing the vlogging thing. He dives down. He hits a super kick. And then they do another double suit. Then they get him on the Shattered Dreams, or the unnatural kick, I think they call it now at AEW, but Shattered Dreams is what it's always going to be. So he gets hung up on the ropes for that. He hits the super kick into Shattered Dreams. And then they got Santana and Ortiz in the pile drive position. and I believe it's still Nick Jackson. So he jumps up and he kind of like does a senton and he kicks both of Proud and Powerful, while Dustin and Matt have them in the pile driver position. So then they hit the pile driver and then they get the pin for the 1, 2, 3. So again, the Inner Circle, they lose, and Sammy costs them the match. You're going to call Sammy a Spanish God. You're going to compare him to Eddie Guerrero, but I think AEW, their commentators are a little fucked up. I think they're watching the wrong show. But they must be really fucked up because Angel Garza wasn't even on NXT this week. So Angel Garza is the one who you want to be calling Eddie Guerrero. He's the one who looks like Eddie. He has Eddie's charisma. Sammy, he might have charisma if you're a 17-year-old girl. You know, those are the only ones who are fucking interested in this guy. You call him a Spanish God, he hasn't had a single win. All his wins, I'm pretty sure, have come in tag team action, maybe on AEW Dark. I haven't kept up with the last couple episodes, but, you know, he hasn't had a win on actual television. So if he's the Spanish God, I'm changing my religion, because there's 2 other Spanish gods who are way leaps and bounds, in my opinion. Those are the ones, the Lucha Bros, you need to be calling the Spanish gods. But besides, you know, all that with Sammy, it was a great, fun match. And they did sign up next week. I believe the next 2 weeks, actually, they're going to be in Texas. So then this is going to be the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful are in like a Texas street fight match. And it's good. Like I said, if you're going to keep these feuds going and keep putting these matches on television, you need to do something to spice them up. So this, you know, going to be a street fight. So that'll be really good, you know, a stipulation, because, I mean, both of these guys, you know, they're so good that you don't mind seeing them wrestling, you know, keep wrestling each other. But if they're going to do it, you want to see it different. You don't want to just see a normal standard wrestling match over and over and over. And the one thing is, Sammy's not in that match. So, they took out the weakest link, because that's the smart thing to do. Sammy's going to keep costing you wins. Why have him on your team? So then, like I said, now we get to see a real Spanish God, Rey Fénix versus Trent. And early on in this match, lots of counters, back and forth. He hits a Tiger Feint kick, or the 619, on Trent, while he's kind of standing on the bottom rope, so that the feint kick kicks out his one leg. And then Fénix takes advantage for a little while from this point, and then he hits a drop kick and a half and half suplex, a tornado DDT for a 2 count. So then now Trent is kind of building some momentum back. Fénix hits a monkey flip into a power bomb. That was a really cool spot. Tightrope kick onto Trent. You know, Fénix does his famous run the tightrope, or not the tightrope. You know, just the ring rope. Then Trent, he hits a clothesline on Fénix after that. So that was he like ran the rope, kicked him, and then they hit the ropes and both bounced back. And then Trent hit a big clothesline. A stomp onto Trent's back while both men were on the apron. Then Trent hits a big knee and a stunt pile driver for a 2 count. I actually thought the match was going to be over there, to be honest. I thought Trent was going to get a win over Pentagon and Fénix. So I wasn't sure, you know. I was scared for a moment there, to be honest with you, because I am pretty biased when it comes to my boys. And then Fénix, he hits a cutter and then a spinning sit-out muscle driver. And I don't care what anybody says. I have, for anybody who knows, and there's probably not a lot out there, there's an anime that I'm a big fan of. It's a wrestling anime. It's called Kinnikuman. So, Muscle Man. Because Kinniku is muscle in Japan. A Kinniku Buster is what Samoa Joe does. So when you put them on your shoulders, you have their neck here. You're holding both their legs. And you sit out. And you pull down on their legs. And that's supposed to apply the pressure to the neck. What Fénix does is he has them up like that. He spins them. And they come down and they come forward. They're no longer on his neck, or on their neck's no longer on his shoulder. So that's not a muscle buster. You could either call that a muscle driver or a bomb. I'll accept either of those two. Because like I said, this anime, that's what this dude does. The main guy. Those are his finishers. The Kinniku Buster and the Kinniku Driver. Those are his moves. So I've seen that enough to know that what's a buster and what isn't. So that's the one thing I will say about the commentary. I mean, it's such a minor point for me to even argue it. It's like, who the hell cares? But, just get the things correct, because you got people like Mauro Ranallo and, other commentators who are calling the moves correct 100% of the time, but then people want to shit on, on WWE, but, and praise AEW, but they do make mistakes, and especially early on, you could not hear the commentary at all. Whoever is in that audio, whoever is in the truck, the Kevin Dunn person for AEW, fire him. Or you need to do something. You need to, like, it was bad. And it's been a couple weeks where the entrance music is real low, or it's too loud, or the crowd is too loud, and all you hear is the crowd. I get it. You're really trying to say that you have an audience. That's great. I'm happy you guys have an audience, but I don't need to hear the crowd cheering. Turn that down. Turn it up when you want to hear it, but I don't need to hear it 24/7. But overall, this was a really good match. Like I said, I was happy Phoenix got the win. I don't know if this continues a program with both of these teams, because they're still kind of in a feud with SCU as well, which obviously you can be in a feud with two teams. That's fine. That just means more TV time for the Lucha Bros. After the match, I'm not sure what exactly happened. I don't know if Trent went to, like, shake Phoenix's hand, if Phoenix kind of blew him off, but both men kind of started shoving each other. And oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention, Orange Cassidy and Chucky came out with Trent, but it was great because they were, the completely face. Penta didn't come out. He had a match later with Christopher Daniels, so it was just Phoenix, and the other two baby faces just stood there legit. They didn't get involved. There was no bullshit. So that was a really cool thing. They didn't get involved until the shoving match started after Phoenix won. Then they kind of got involved, and Phoenix just rolled out of the ring, put his hands up like whatever, and he was like mouthing off, throwing his hands to Trent and to the crowd and stuff. So, like I said, they're really trying to hammer home that heel for the Lucha Bros. And to me, face or heel, they're legit. They're going to get cheered. And so really, two really good solid matches so far to start this show. Then we get Tony. He interviews Cody. He asks him about the attack last week, about MJF, and he said, "What's on your mind?" Literally and figuratively, because of that scar that Cody has on his head. And Cody brings up the scar. He said that's going to be a constant reminder of his failures, and just overall, he feels like a failure. He said his brother is involved in some blood feud, that he really shouldn't even be in, with the Inner Circle and the Young Bucks. Teaming with the Young Bucks, obviously. His wife is cutting off defenseless women's hair and keeping it as some weird trophy. And his best friend turned on him. So, he said it feels like his whole world's upside down, feels like a failure. And then he said last week, he was attacked by the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. And he says, whenever you want to attack me like that in the middle of the ring, whenever you guys want a match, let me know. It's on. And you can even pick my partner. I don't care. So to just get into that right now before I forget, and also announced next week is the Butcher and the Blade going against Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, who, if you haven't, he's more backstage. He does wrestle on AEW Dark. I believe he was in a squash match on the actual show one week, but he's more of just like a backstage guy who they like, but he's obviously not going to be over. He's more of a job guy. So this is clearly setting up for the Butcher and the Blade to win. Because God, I hope you wouldn't have them lose in their debut match. But yeah, so he says they can pick his partner and whenever they want to wrestle. And then he goes on to MJF and he says, he picked MJF to be his guy, even though some people might say MJF is small and he's ghetto rich and his scarf is just a knockoff. He's trying to beat Chris Jericho and he's trying to ride those coattails. So he was really laying into MJF. That I all thought was good. Like I said, he says MJF, he's pretty much just fake, and, he knew he was a bad person, pretty much a piece of shit, but he's like, you were my bad guy. You were with me. Like, I knew you were all these things a lot of people didn't like, but you were at least on my side. And then you threw in the towel. You betrayed me. I can't challenge for the belt again. You screwed me over. So out of all these people, who I want to wrestle and everything else, he says, you are the one I need. Like, he needs to wrestle MJF. He wants to wrestle the Butcher and the Blade for everything they've done and, everybody else, but he needs to fight MJF. And he said, I don't care what it's going to take. So he starts bribing him. He pulls out his truck keys. It's like a 1 out of 1,000 or something like that truck. I guess it's some special edition and truck. And he's like, I know you've been eyeing up my truck. He throws those keys on the mat. He's like, you can have it. He's like, here's my watch, gift from Tony Khan. It's the most expensive thing on my body. You know, he throws that on the mat. I don't know if it's the most expensive thing on your body if you're just going to throw it like that. But anyway, and then he says he has a briefcase with over $50,000. He said, you want to prove it's legit? You know, Justin Roberts was the one who had the briefcase. He calls him over. He's like, go give it to that kid. And it's a little Orange Cassidy kid. The kid, I'm pretty sure the kid who always dresses up as Orange Cassidy. Ooh, it's probably not even a fan. It's probably a plant because, like I said, he's there all the time. So, you know, you're not really giving $100 to a fan unless he is just a diehard fan who goes to all the shows, which if so, I'll give him the Orange Cassidy thumbs up because that's badass. If it's a plant, I'm going to give the Orange Cassidy thumb down. You should just give the legit $100 bill to an actual fan. That would have been pretty badass. But, and then Cody says, as everyone is waiting, MJF just needs to name his price. So that was pretty much that segment. I felt like this went on a little bit too long. I paraphrased it here. Cody is extremely long-winded. I'm just not personally a fan of face Cody. Cody needs to be the American Nightmare with Brandi at his side, you know, cheating, or Brandi will jump in front of the Cody's opponent and they'll accidentally bump her and they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, and then she'll kick him in the dick and Cody will, you know, DDT him on the outside. I want the heel, like, evil, nasty, like, I want the Cody that you want to hate. When the fans cheer for Cody for everything he says, it just, like, nauseates me. I don't know. I'm probably the only one who thinks that way, but I don't care. It's the way I feel. So like I said, he needs to, he did, the one thing I did like, he did call him out on his really shitty crossroads that he did. So I did appreciate that because that was a god-awful crossroads. Then after that, we get Alex Morvez, and he's interviewing Joey Janela backstage about the main event match between him and Jon Moxley. And he's like, you know, you had this match with Moxley, and it was intense, and it was crazy. You know, you've seen on this role Moxley's been. You know, why do you think, like, why do you want to fight him? Like, he's insane and all that. You know, he's just bragging up Moxley, you know, putting him over. And Joey Janela says, you know, that was a lights-out match. But this one, you know, this one counts. And he's going to prove to everybody that, you know, when it's, you know, when the chips are on the table and it's legit, that he can beat Moxley, and that if Moxley is going to win, he's going to have to kill Joey Janela because there's no other way that, you know, he's going to give up. And then the camera pans and Moxley, or he walks in, I think, and then he's standing right next to Alex Morvez. And he's doing one of these numbers, just, you know, scratching his chin, shaking his head, and he kids, and just walks off. So that was really good. Joey Janela, I think you could definitely tell, like Scorpio Sky and all these other guys, real nervous in front of the camera, you know, real. Maybe he was trying to convey that, like shaky emotion like he was having, but he just came off more nervous. But, you know, I'm still a fan of Joey Janela. He's a young guy. He's only going to improve, so I'm not going to knock him or anything. But it was just something that was noticeable from when you see guys like Jericho and Moxley and Omega and even, you know, Cody and all the Bucks, all these guys who are so established on the mic. Because AEW is a lot like you got these old veterans who've been doing it forever, and you've got a lot of new guys who've only been doing it for 3-4 years on the indies. And, you know, how much really TV exposure are you getting on the indies? Literally none. They might record it for a YouTube channel or something, but you're really not getting a lot of TV exposure. But still a good segment, set up the match for the main event. Then we get a Dark Order video package. The Dark Order, you know, they're dragging some guy to the woods. Evil Uno, he asks him, you know, why do you want to join the Dark Order? And, you know, if you join us, you know you have to give up everything, your family, you know, pretty much your career, your loved ones, your life, everything you've had, you have to give up if you want to join the Dark Order. Why do you want to do it? The guy's like, you know, pathetic, lives a shitty life. He's like, oh, I just want some friends. I just want to have friends and be accepted. And then Stu Grayson boots the dude to the ground. The creepers all jump on him. They're all touching him and getting all over his face and all this other stuff. And then it cuts to people smiling and all these people being like happy in this like society and all this other stuff. So it was another good video package for the Dark Order. Real short, quick. You know, we've seen them wrestle before. We know what they can do in the ring. Now we've seen these video packages. We know what they're all about. One more video package, I'm going to say, if you want to. I'm fine with this being the last one. but one more for them max, and then get them in the ring and get them in a program. Get them in a feud where they're cutting promos in the ring on another team. You know, whoever that's going to be. I thought you were going to do something with the Jurassic Express. Now we see they're kind of involved in another feud, potentially, most likely. I'll get into that later. So I don't know if you want to retouch the Private Party, if you want to do another tag team, you know, SCU, Lucha Bros, whoever you want to do, best friends. You know, you don't want to do, obviously, maybe not Lucha Bros because that's heel versus heel, but there's lots of things you could do. But I really think that if you're going to do a video package, one more on them, and then after that, you got to move on and do a video package on someone in the women's division, or, you know, another tag team or a singles competitor or someone. Just because I like these video packages, they're good, but I like to see them on other people now because I feel we got the Dark Order established enough. Then after that, we get Nyla Rose versus Leva Bates. This obviously is a squash match. And before the match, the main whole setup for this match is last week, Shanna was attacked by Nyla Rose. I don't know if she was doing an interview or just meeting with fans, or it was something backstage, and she got attacked by Nyla Rose. You know, slammed her head into the table and all this stuff backstage. So that was, like, again, key. I want to keep that in mind. That's an asterisk for this match. Nyla Rose, she goes to hit the Beast Bomb early on. Peter Avalon tries to break it up. I'm not sure what she did to him, if she just scared him off and he rolled out of the ring, or if she shoved him out of the ring, or what she did to Peter Avalon. But, you know, then a little bit of back and forth, not long. This match was very short. She goes to get a choke slam on Leva Bates, and Peter Avalon's up on the top rope, so he jumps down. Nyla Rose catches him, double choke slam on the both of them, Beast Bomb on Leva Bates. You know, 1, 2, 3, and done. Then after that, she hits another Beast Bomb on Leva Bates, and then she gets a table, and I'm getting ahead of myself. She hits a Beast Bomb on Leva Bates, and then Shayna comes out. So then, like I said, this was the whole, you know, point of this match. So Shayna comes out. They start brawling a little bit. Nyla Rose obviously takes advantage, you know, early on, or not, takes advantage after a while, because, you know, you're not going to have Shayna just beat down Nyla Rose. So then Nyla gets the table, and she's going to Beast Bomb Shayna through this table. And the referee, he's, you know, getting in her way. He's trying to stop her, like, no, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So then she Beast Bombs or Power Bombs the ref through the table. So this is what I like, because Nyla Rose, you know, she was gone for a while after the Riho. She lost the Riho. Now she's back on TV, and there's squash matches. Now we see, like, this is the start of a program, I feel, between her and Shayna. And that's what I want to see. I want to see, you know, these stories. Now, next week, I don't want to see just a match from these two. I want to see Shayna come out and cut a promo, call her out, like, blah, 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 like, you're a bully. You know, you think you can just run roughshod here and you think you can just own this division and beat up whoever you want. It doesn't work that way. You know, cut some kind of promo and really get a, you know, a feud going for these women. But, you know, I like what they did here, because that's what I want to see. I don't want to just see meaningless matches. I want to, like I said, see feuds. So I like this. So I hope that they go down the right path with these two women. Then we get probably the best segment of the night, and of course it involves Les Champions. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager come out. Jericho talks how he sold a bunch of the bubbly in like a few hours, I believe it was. I forget how many thousand bottles in so many hours or days or whatever it was. Jericho says he's forced to have one more match, you know, due to his contract. So in 2 weeks, I believe it is. I believe they said it was the 18th. He's going to be defending his title if that date matches up. But anyway, it's in 2 weeks. He's going to be defending his title. And he says he has a list. And the crowd immediately pops, and they're like, ooh, you know, the list. And he's like, he tells them to shut up. He's like, it's not 2016. Like, calm down, everybody. And then he says, it's not the list anymore. It is the lexicon of Le Champion. And like I said, this was, for me anyway, the best part of the night, because he starts reading through all these names of people. Because if your name is on this list, you can't, he's not going to challenge you. Like, you can't challenge him. He's not going to accept your fight or your challenge to wrestle him. So he says, Jon Moxley, Cody Rhodes, because he can, the Young Bucks, Papa Buck, Buck Rogers, Moxley, Scorpio Sky, Too Cold Scorpio, any member of the Scorpions, Moxley, Michael Nakazawa, Kenny Omega, Kenny Ortega, Kenny Chesney, Kenny from South Park, Hangman Page, Diamond Dallas Page, Page, Moxley, Evil Uno, Angry Dose, Irritated Trace, the fat guy in row 5, and the dumb guy with the glasses in row 3, Moxley. So like if you didn't laugh during this, you must be dead inside. You must have no sense of humor. I popped for the Too Cold Scorpio, obviously big ECW mark. So I mean that was so funny to me that reading all these names, and when he says Moxley for the last time, you hear boom, the Jurassic Express, their music starts playing. The three of them, they come down to the ring, and Jericho, yeah, they coming down to the ring, and Jericho goes, "Oh, you guys are also on my list." He's like, "Right here, dinosaurs." And then Luchasaurus, he kind of kills his gimmick, but it was fine because obviously you were gonna have him speak and all this at some point anyway. But he's like, "Dude, do you really think I'm a dinosaur? Like, you think this is legit?" He's like, I went to school. I think he has a degree in history or something. I forget what he said his college degree was, but he has a degree or yeah, I think he said he has a degree. I don't think he said he was a professor, but he's definitely a very smart uh, guy, along with being talented in the ring. And he just kind of tells Jericho like, "Dude, you're an idiot." And he's like, and Marco Stunt, he may be short for his age, but he's more of a man than you'll ever be. And then Jericho says, "I think Marco Stunt is short for any age," which, I mean, that was pretty funny. Good comeback. And then Jericho, he calls out Jungle Boy. And he's like, "Oh, well, what about you? Golden Boy, Jack Perry, Mr. Hollywood. Like, who do you think you are? You're a piece of shit." And the crowd was like, "Ooh," they weren't expecting him to say that. Kind of like the Kevin Owens bullshit thing on Monday Night Raw. So Jericho calls him a piece of shit, and he said, "You wouldn't last 10 minutes with me." And Jungle Boy's like, "I know I can last 10 minutes with you, and I know I can kick your ass." And then a huge fight breaks down, all 5 men punching on each other. Jericho and Hager roll out of the ring, and Jericho starts throwing a temper tantrum like he did with the whole Scorpio Sky bit. So then this is just setting up Jericho's last match. It's him and Jungle Boy, like I said, I believe in 2 weeks. And Jericho, he was on either someone's podcast or he did an interview or something, and he said all these feuds that they're doing, him and SCU, and now him and the Jurassic Express, this is all to get these guys over. Obviously, he said, that, it's more than obvious he's not going to drop the title to these guys. It wouldn't make sense storyline wise, this and that. But this is just a way to get them over because you're putting them in programs with, the number one guy in your company, your heavyweight champion. So that's essentially what they're doing. They're just trying to get these guys over and build new stars by putting them in these programs. So that's why you're not going to see the guys like Kenny Omega or, Kenny Ortega or no, just, Jon Moxley. And, you're not going to see those guys who we really want to see. And we're like, "Oh, he should be the next champion." We're not going to, or Page, are not, yeah, Hangman Page or Pac, any of these guys. We're not going to see them at least for a while until Jericho's ready to drop the belt because they're just trying to build all these other guys up. Darby Allin was another one early on he had a match against. So I believe that was in Philadelphia. So that was, that's Jericho's whole reason for being in feuds like this, with the Jurassic Express, which I really like. So then after this, we get Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida, which I was really looking forward to this match, and this match was pretty good. Chris Statlander, her gimmick is like an alien. I wasn't sure what her gimmick was at first. She has like these little like pastel like little beads glued to her head and just her makeup and all this other stuff. So she, like I said, her gimmick is supposed to be an alien. She starts the match like taunts Sheeta. She does these like cartwheels around her and then does like the ET little like boop to her forehead. Even though ET's with the finger, but anyway. So like I said, they were really playing up her alien gimmick. They said something about like the Andromeda Galaxy, Tony Schiavone and them. So I really like how AEW, they do like to get somebody's gimmick over on commentary for the most part. They usually, WWE really doesn't have gimmicks. I mean, everybody's gimmick is that, like, they just take wrestling as a parody of itself. But um, at least in AEW, they kind of embrace their gimmicks a little more. So then they start fighting to the outside early. Sheeta tries for that running knee off the chair, but she gets caught and slammed into the barricade, and then she gets thrown back into the ring. An Oklahoma roll by Statlander for a 2 count. Sheeta hits a knee strike off the apron, and then a drop kick for a 2 count. Statlander hits a backbreaker, which Sheeta counters into an armbar. That was a really cool spot. Like, both of these women are so great, and you got all these women now. You're getting these storylines, and especially after this match, they started another story. I feel so. The women's division is finally getting there, but nothing from Riho. I feel like we should see the champion a little more, even though I'm not the biggest fan of her. Neither is Juan. So, at least here on the channel, we're not her biggest fan, but she is the champion, so I would like to see her on TV a little more. Sheeta suplexes Statlander from the apron to the ring for a 2 count. Statlander hits an electric chair slam and then a scissor kick for a 2 count. A knee strike by Sheeta for another 2 count. Statlander hits a cradle pile driver for the win. So I don't know if that's her finisher, but because I believe that's what they just called it. They didn't have like a fancy name for it, but she's still new enough. They might not know like what her finisher is named or anything, but it was a great match. Like I said, I just ran through it quickly. Unfortunately, some of it was in the picture-in-picture and commercial, which it's hard for me to pay attention during that. Unless you have some huge like 70-some-inch TV, it's going to be hard to watch that. I was surprised that Statlander got the win. I thought they were just going to go all in on Sheeta to this match, but I guess they're trying to keep the women's division pretty even, which is fair. But you don't want to have your number one contender look weak. But I mean, it was fine. It's not too big of a deal because, like I said, there's no real story there. And if Hikaru Shida and Riho have a match within the next few weeks, I don't expect Riho to lose it to Hikaru Shida anyway. Unfortunately, so I think it's just going to be set up for another title defense. But like I said, it was a good win for Kris Statlander. I really like what she does. I'm happy she signed with AEW, and I think she's going to be a really inaugural part in their women's division. And then after the match, we get Awesome Kong. She comes out, and obviously with Brandi, and Brandi says that no one likes to be afraid, and she says that everyone is wondering what they're doing. And she says that they do the jobs that no one else is willing to do. And the thing is, they like doing those jobs. And she says she doesn't have a problem with Statlander because Kris Statlander gets right in Awesome Kong and Brandi Rhodes' face when they come into the ring. She's like, she don't have a problem with her. In fact, she's going to offer her a position to join their little stable. I forget what she called the group. And then, and she says that, you can have a home with us, but you're going to be a part of this team doing these like dirty jobs, so to speak. And for anybody out there who is a fan of DC Comics, this reminded me right like the Suicide Squad, Amanda Waller, oh, I'm putting a team together. We're going to do these tough jobs and, these jobs no one wants to do. It kind of just reminded me of that. And I know there's some Harley Quinn Birds of Prey or something on TNT or TBS, TNT, Turner Broadcast Station, or Turner Network Television, both Turner, both, DC Comics is on the same station. You're going to do this Amanda Waller gimmick. I don't know, maybe I'm, looking at it a little, too much, a little conspiracy theory, which there's nothing wrong with pulling from a comic book. I mean, hell, Sting was the fucking Crow and it got over, but it was just something I noticed, and again, I have no problem with DC. I think it's pretty cool. So at least we're getting kind of an explanation, but you don't know why she's cutting off the hair. Like, who is this a job for? Because she said we do these jobs that, no one else wants to do. But who's collecting these shreds of hair? Was still, they didn't really say. And again, like she asked her if she wants to join, their group. And Statlander, she's like, nah, I'm not, not joining. They have a stare down, and before she actually doesn't like disagree or like fight with Kong or anything, a fan comes up and the fan's like, I'll join, I want to join, let me in, please. And then so Brandi, says, yeah, that's fine. A security guard moves the barricade. She comes over and they just start going to town, cutting her hair off. Not just a little chunk, I believe they cut a lot of her hair off. And obviously this was a plant. It wasn't just a random fan. And I believe her name was uh, Melina Cruz, and yeah, Melina Cruz. So she's a wrestler from like the Chicago Midwest area. So you don't know if this was just like a special appearance or if she's gonna, they're having a tryout for her and gonna be working with AEW. I would assume so. That she's at least gonna make another appearance because you had her on TV. They cut her hair, they did all this stuff. You're not gonna do that and be like, hey, here's $200, thanks, have a nice life, and then unless you want a free haircut. But anyway, it was good to kind of see a little more story for this group. And now I don't know if you're going to feud Awesome Kong against Chris Statlander or if that was just a stare off, maybe for seeds planted down the line. But we got a little bit more story out of that. Brandi's the same way as Cody. I definitely paraphrased it here, where they're long-winded and they take 30 minutes to say something that you can say in 2. So it's one of those things where, like, I like Brandi, but I feel I like her, like I said, with the American Nightmare, in that heel role. You're not really sure if this is a heel. Like, they're doing heel things, but I don't know. Like, she's still with Cody. Cody wasn't, it's weird. They're like, she's kind of in this in between. She's definitely more heel, but I don't know. It's just confusing, and they need to do a little bit more with her. But I'm glad that they're at least continuing it, and so we'll see where they go from here. And then we get Christopher Daniels versus Pentagon Jr. This match was pretty good. Daniels jumps Pentagon before the bell. He tries to do a pile driver to Pentagon onto this the ramp like Pentagon did to him in the tag team tournament. Penta counters with a super kick to the back of Daniels' head. Then the match starts. Both men get to the ring. The match officially starts. Penta hits a stomp on the chest of Daniels. Penta keeps control during the commercial break. Daniels counters with a springboard move. Or counters a springboard move from Pentagon and regains control. Penta hits a sling blade and a backstabber for a 2 count on Daniels. Daniels counters a Canadian Destroyer attempt on the ramp. Daniels misses an Arabian moonsault, they called it, and I think this was the spot where he just, he tries to do kind of like, I won't even say it was an Arabian moonsault. I think he was just trying to like throw himself over the rope and just like land his ass onto Penta because the ramp went up to the apron. It was one of those ramps that it went right to the ring. So, but he just like threw himself over the rope and flopped like a dead fish. Like he weighed 200, like 2 tons when he went over that rope, just dead drop down. So that was a botch there. They tried to, cover it on commentary. Christopher Daniels is old. I was texting Juan. I'm like, this guy needs to retire. Me just being a heel, fucking around. But he's still good for his age. But, maybe change your moveset a little bit. It could have just been an innocent botch. Maybe he hits that 99 times out of 100. Unfortunately, this was that 1 out of 100. So, like I said, he misses the Arabian moonsault, as they called it. Daniels hits his finisher. I forget if his finisher is called the Fallen Angel as well. That's a bad on my part. And Phoenix comes down. He distracts the ref. And then all this is going on. Phoenix is running around the ring, distracting the ref. Daniels is, like, what the fuck's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Penta eventually counters, gets him in the package pile driver for the pin. So then you see Pentagon and Phoenix. They celebrate together. And like I said, does this continue the SCU feud or is this done? I don't know where this goes. Are they going to feud with the best friends? So we'll see where they go from here. But it was an enjoyable match between these two. Pentagon is really good. And like I said, Christopher Daniels, despite that botch, for his age, he's good too. But the right person won. And I was happy that both the Lucha Bros got a win tonight. Then we get a promo from the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. Ali said that they are sick of seeing Cody, and they're sick of seeing Cody everywhere, and that they are in his house in AEW, and they're here to cause chaos, and they're going to be the ones to cut the head off the snake. So, they're going against Cody, so that's why they attacked her. Or I mean, that's why they attacked Cody last week. And I don't think that she said that this is a direct result of Brandi attacking her. So that's like the one thing I'm unsure of is, now because Cody was saying, his wife's run off and doing these crazy things. So clearly he's not agreeing with his wife. But then, so it's kind of some like weird triangle. So I don't know, I don't know what the plan is. But like I said, next week it's going to be QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes versus the Blade and the Butcher. Obviously, hopefully the Blade and the Butcher win that. And then I don't think that that's going to be a feud, with QT Marshall or anything. I think they're going to move on from that. And we'll see, because I feel the main story with Cody is MJF. This feud is just kind of a little, they're probably going to establish MJF more. And you don't want to put these two together right away. This is a big pay-per-view blow-off type feud. And they're not going to have a pay-per-view anymore this year. So you definitely want to save this feud. At least I would hope you're going to save this for a pay-per-view. So then, main event time, we get Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela. And Moxley, this match starts, it wasn't just, a brawl. They weren't just beating the shit out of each other. Moxley, he out-wrestles Joey Janela early on, kind of frustrating him. Joey knocks down Moxley, and he plays up to the crowd. And again, this is a thing that really irritates the hell out of me. When they they knock a guy down, like this is the first advantage you had in the match, and you're going to be like, ooh, oh, yeah. And it's like, dude, keep on the guy. Keep beating him up, stomp his knee into the ground. What's his offense? Has he been injured anywhere? Moxley's arm. Beat up his arm. Do something, what's your finisher? The elbow drop? Work over to, the midsection, the stomach, the chest. Don't just play up to the crowd because that's not going to win you the match, and clearly it didn't. Some people like that. I'm not a big fan because obviously wrestling is stage, it's predetermined, it's an act, it's a show, but I like to keep the realism alive a little bit here. Chops back and forth from both guys. Moxley has advantage. Obviously in the chops, he's the stronger, more powerful guy. Double axe handle from Janela on the outside. Moxley turns him inside out with a huge clothesline on the ramp. Back in the ring, Moxley keeps control during the commercial break. Don't care for commercials during the main event, but I know you got to do them at some point. Moxley hits some kind of release, flip, suplex, throw type move. He has him in the suplex position, and instead of bringing him backwards, he just kind of comes straight up and just lets him go. And Joey does like a flip and lands. It was a cool move. The commentary didn't even know what to call it. I just put in my notes what it kind of looked like. And then I lost where I was here. Yeah, here we go. And then Janela, he hits a swinging DDT onto the ramp. That was a cool spot. Janela gets a 2 count from that. Moxley rolls outside onto the timekeeper's table after this point. He's kind of just laying there like because he's beat up at this point. Janela he jumps on, I believe it was just like a crossbody, because you didn't really see what he did from the ring. All you just saw was the camera was on Moxley's face, but Janela comes crashing down into him. They break the table. That was another really cool spot. And then he rolls him back into the ring, elbow drop, a 2 count, and I believe that's his finisher, the elbow drop. So somebody hits their finisher, only a 2 count, done. And that's pretty much what it went here. Moxley, he hits the paradigm shift on the top turnbuckle. They're kind of standing there. He has him up, and he drops his head onto the top turnbuckle, and then he picks him up and hits it again in the ring for the pin. Obviously, we knew Moxley was going to win. After the match, Jericho's music and all that plays, and the Inner Circle, they kind of do like the Jon Moxley thing where they come out from the crowd. I believe it wasn't just like they were in the luxury box. I believe they were trying to, imitate Jon Moxley. So they all come down. They have this huge stare down, as the show goes off the air. Overall, the show, it was definitely a lot better than last week. And I think, you know, it was a good show. It was a good bounce back show. You had a lot of matches. That was the one thing I was worried about. Was there going to be promos? Was there going to be any time to do anything? And none of these that time management this week was, I'll give it to you. It was good this week. None of these matches were too long. None of them were rushed. The main event wasn't rushed. That's the only match that you should have long. The main event should be the main event, and it had good timing. And like I said, you know, you had promos. You had the Dark Order. You had Brandi cut her shtick at the end of a match. You had the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. Cody cut his promo. Jericho cut his. So you had a lot of mix of great fast-paced matches, great timing, and you had some promos. Some of them were a little weak. Some were a little long-winded, but everything overall was good. This was a good, solid episode of AEW, and I'm wondering to see if the ratings reflect that, because last week NXT's episode killed it. AEW's episode, a few segments here and there were good, but overall wasn't that great of an episode, and the ratings reflected that. Now, was that just a holiday thing? Was that fans were more invested for Survivor Series? You know, I don't think it's people losing interest in AEW. I don't think it's that in the slightest, but it was definitely concerning because they were always in the 900, and then they went to like 600 some thousand, and NXT, I believe, was in the 800s. So I don't know the exact numbers, so it might not be that far apart, but NXT did have the solid advantage. So I'm curious to see what these ratings are going to be this week. And like I said, it was a solid, good episode of AEW Dynamite, and I'm definitely looking forward to next week. So thank you guys so much for watching. And you know, tonight, Juan and I are going to have our review and thoughts on NXT. And if you want to check out any of the past things we did, please do so. We have our thoughts on the Broken Skull Sessions episode 1 with The Undertaker. We reviewed, of course, Survivor Series, War Games. We have Smackdown from last week. I did my Monday Night Raw review, and I said NXT tonight. We're going to have Smackdown then tomorrow night after the show. And like I said, we're probably going to try to cook something up for you special on Saturday. We'll see. We don't have anything planned yet, but we're definitely not going to leave you hanging. So, as always, guys, thank you so much. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe. You know, if you're on Facebook, you know, share our links, share our videos, like the page. You know, we like to have a lot of interaction. We don't just shill out our links. You know, we post, you know, pictures, reviews, memes, all kinds of funny stuff. We really try to get the fan involvement there. So, you know, please check us out on there as well. On Twitter, we have all the links to previous videos and all the social medias down below. So thank you guys for watching as always, and we'll see you again later tonight. Adaaaaaaa!